Okay, now here we go. We're going to be looking at PEMDAS, or order of operations. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. 2 plus 8 times 6 divided by 2 squared. Now, left or right is the wrong way of doing this. Okay, so here's what it looks like going left to right, which is wrong. So don't do this. Okay, so here we go. So like 2 plus 8 makes 10, then times 6 is 60, divided by 2, 60 divided by 2 is 30, and then squared makes 900. That's wrong, right? We want to do PEMDAS. We want to do order of operations. So here's what it looks like with the proper order of operations. In this case here, exponents are going to go first. So I'm going to do the 2 squared first, and that's going to make a 4. Then we do multiply divide next, okay? Left to right. So we're going to do the plus last. Plus minus goes last. Multiplication comes next, right? Left to right, multiply divide. So 8 times 6 would make 48. Then we take that 48 divided by 4 makes 12. And now last we're doing our addition subtraction. So 2 plus 12 to make 14. So you can see we end up with two totally different numbers here. One is the correct way, and the other way, left to right, doesn't always work. Okay, so here we go. Remember PEMDAS, right? That's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, and addition subtraction. It's 4 steps. It's not 6. Okay, so the parentheses here, as we get higher up in math, they're actually grouping symbol, not just parentheses. Okay, so we can't have parentheses for parentheses, right? We can also use brackets. And then here's the fraction bar, and that's also a grouping symbol. We have to do everything in the numerator first and everything in the denominator, and then last we're going to do the division here. So this fraction bar does also act as a grouping symbol. Okay, next up is exponents. Now, this also includes square roots. Square roots are in the exponents category, okay? And then second to last, we're going to multiply and divide from left to right, and then add, subtract are the last things we're going to do, again, from left to right, okay? So here we go. We'll have some practices here. So here we have a 4x squared minus 3x plus 1. Now, this says we're going to evaluate it for when x is negative 2. Okay, so this means we're evaluating, and that's a big fancy word for what you probably heard in the past as plug it in. Okay, so we're going to replace all the x's with negative 2. That's what it says right here. X is negative 2. So we're going to replace this x with a negative 2 and this x with a negative 2. Okay, so here we go. Boom, boom. There it is. So now we can do our order of operations, right? In this case here, now these parentheses are not grouping symbol parentheses. They're exponents or multiplication group parentheses, okay? So we do have to keep that straight in our brain. Again, math can get a little complicated if you don't quite know the meaning of what you're looking at there. Okay, so exponents first. So that's exponents right there. We have a negative 2 squared. Now that squared means you have 2 of them. You have 2 negative 2's being multiplied. So that's a negative 2 times a negative 2. You have a negative times a negative. What does that make? Positive, right? Step number 1 is my answer, positive or negative. And then 2 times 2 would make 4, okay? So we're going to copy this down. That's a 4. And then negative 2 squared is a positive 4. And then we still have the rest of it, negative 3 times negative 2, and then the plus 1 there. So we did exponents. Now we do multiply divide. Okay, so here we have a multiplication. We have a 4 times a 4, so that's going to make a 16. We have another multiplication here from left to right. We have a negative 3. Now remember, this negative, this minus goes with the 3, so we have a negative times a negative, so that's positive. So that's plus, and then 3 times 2 makes 6. So remember, when you're dealing with these integers, these positives and negatives, break them up. First identify, is it going to be positive or negative? In this case, positive. And then you do the multiplication. 3 times 2 makes 6. Okay, break it up into smaller chunks. It's easier for your brain. Okay, and then we have the plus 1 here. All right, so we've done all the multiply divide. There's only multiply. Now we do addition subtraction. There's only addition. We're going left to right. So 16 plus 6, that makes 22. 22 plus 1 is going to make 23, and we're done. Now we're going to evaluate b squared minus 4ac when a is negative 5, b is negative 2, and c is negative 3. So we're replacing the b, the a, and the c with the values here. So replacing the b, it's going to go right there, right? B is a negative 2, so that goes right there. And then we have the a, it's going to be replaced there. A is a negative 5, so that's going to go right there. And then we have the c is going to go right there, and that's going to be the negative 3. So now we do our order of operations. So exponents first. Again, these parentheses over here, these ones are multiply or exponent parentheses. They're not the grouping symbol parentheses. Okay, so here we go. So we have 2 negative 2's being multiplied 5, negative 2 times negative 2, negative times negative, that's going to be a positive, and then do the 2 times 2, that's going to make 4. Okay, next up, now we have exponents are done. Now we can do multiplication. So here we go. Negative 4 times negative 5, left or right, right? So we have a negative times a negative. Well, that's going to be a positive, and then 4 times 5, that's going to make 20, right? And now we have this 20 times negative 3. So it's going to be a positive times a negative. That's going to be a negative, and then 20 times 3, just pretend it's a 2 times 3, and then put a 0 on the end. So here we go. 2 times 3, that's going to be a 6 with a 0 on the end, makes 60. Okay, now we're done with the exponents and the multiplication. Now we have addition, subtraction from left to right. There's only a subtraction left anyhow. So we're doing 4 minus 60, right? So we're subtracting 60 from 4. We have more negatives than we do positives, so we know the answer is going to be a negative, and then 60 minus 4 to give us how much that is. So again, we're thinking, if you're thinking money, you have $4, you owe 60, so you're going to give them the $4, and you're still going to owe 60 minus 4 amount, or 56 amount. Okay, so negative 56 would be the value when we evaluate b squared minus 4ac. All right, so here we go with negative b minus the square root of d over 2a, right? And here's our values. We got an a is 5, b is negative 8, and d is 16. Okay, so we're going to replace these values in for a, b, and d here. So it's going to kind of look like this, right? And the value here, that's going to be b, and b was negative 8, so we're going to have a negative 8. And then the d is going to be replaced with a 16, so that's going to go right there. And then 2 times a, the a right there is going to be a 5. So there we go, 5. So now that we're done replacing all of our values for the variables, now it's time to do order of operations. And with this one here, we do have the fraction bar there. So we are going to simplify everything in the numerator, the top, and everything in the denominator or the bottom. And at the very end, we'll do our division or reducing or whatever it might be, because that fraction bar, it does act like a grouping symbol. Okay. So here we go. So one thing to note, we do have a square root here. Square root is 16. That's asking the question, what number times itself equals, in this case, 16. Well, that's going to be a 4. 4 times 4 equals 16. Okay, and then right here, negative 8, negative of a negative, that's going to be a positive. So this negative 8, that's going to turn to a regular 8, and then minus square root of 16, that's a 4 there. So we did our exponents, because square roots, that's part of the, for PEMDAS, that goes under exponents. So we did our exponents there, and then this negative of a negative, that's kind of a multiplication type step, and then we have regular multiply here. So and so our denominator, that's good, it's all simplified. So we still need to do in the numerator, we still got to do the 8 minus 4, and that's going to make a regular 4, right? 8 minus 4 equals 4. And now we're all simplified. The numerator and the denominator are both simplified, so now we're ready to divide if we can. In this case we can't, so we're just going to reduce. So they're both even, so we know we can divide both of them by 2. So 4 divided by 2 makes 2, and 10 divided by 2 is going to make 5. And that's going to be the value for this expression here, evaluated for the a, the b, and the d. All right? Number 14. So go ahead and try this one out on your own. See if you can get it. Pause the video, then come on back and see how you did. So the common mistake on this one is that everybody's going to see this 3 plus 9, and they're going to want to do that first, and that is incorrect. Parentheses first, okay? So it's the 7 minus 5 goes first. So in this case here, we're going to leave the 3, we're going to leave the plus, we're going to leave the 9, and we're going to do the 7 minus 5 first, okay? So 7 minus 5 is going to change to a 2. Now, some people are still going to see this 3 plus 9 and think, oh, that's what's next, because your eyes catch it. But you do got to remember, we did parentheses. There's no exponents. Next up is multiply, divide. So is there multiplication or division? Yes, there is. 9 times 2. So 9 times 2 is going to switch with 18. Now we can do, we're done with multiply and divide. Now we can do our addition or subtraction. In this case, just addition, right? So we can do the 3 plus 18, and that's going to make 21. So this one does tend to trip people up quite a bit, because they see that 3 plus 9, they think, oh, I'm going to do that first, and they're wrong, right? We got to make sure that we're doing the order of operation correctly. So quick bonus question. Try this one here. It's a viral math question. Pause the video, see if you can't get it yourself, and then come on back and see how you did. So on this one here, start with parentheses. That's going to be 1 plus 2. That's going to make 3. So the answer was 9. So if you got 9, good on you. If not, follow along here, right? The 1 plus 2 in parentheses, that's going to be a 3. Now, some people are going to see this 2 times 3 and think, oh, multiply, divide. I do multiply next. No, 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 no. Multiply and divide is the same step. Okay, and we're going left to right. So the correct way of doing it is 6 divided by 2. That's going to make 3. And then the times 3 goes next. So we have a 3 times a 3 makes 9 there. So this one, again, a little bit tricky because you got to remember multiply, divide is the same step and you just go left to right. Okay? So remember on PEMDAS, it's 4 steps, not 6, all right? That multiply, divide, that's the same step. So start with grouping symbols first, and then exponents, and that includes your square roots, and then multiply and divide from left to right, and last addition, subtraction, again, from left to right.